Hey guys, welcome back to SJU. It's Friday. Hey, the IMDb top 10. Is it an accurate top 10 list of all-time movies? I don't know. We're going to talk about it. Plus, the Spider-Bad Kraven the Hunter got a director for his movie. We're going to break that down a little bit. And also stick around because then we will be taking your questions from the chat. I'm your host, Joe. I've got Spencer J. Gilbert with me.
Happy Friday, Joe.
Happy Friday, sir. And a Billy Business. Happy Friday to you, sir.
Happy Dome weekend to you.
Oh, it is a weekend of domes.
So many domes.
If we're lucky.
You're checking out the Wrestling Dome tonight.
I'm going in the WWE Thunderdome for SmackDown, and then tomorrow's DC Fandom, and then Sunday night I'm going to watch Biodome. So it's a great weekend.
Perfect. Yeah, that's the Dome Trinity. Spencer, we'll send you pictures of the WWE Thunderdome because
it's very weird.
Horrendous. It's just a giant arena wall of thousands of Zoom screens so that they have an audience, and it looks crazy. Anyway, we're not here to talk about the WWE Thunderdome. Thank God for Spencer. We're here to talk about the IMDb top 10. So, this is a list I'm always just curious about.
This is a list. That's one way to describe it.
It is a list, man. But it's an important list because, I mean, IMDb is one of the top, I believe, 30 or 50 trafficked websites in the world. And this source, along with Rotten Tomatoes, is where a lot of people go to figure out the big questions, like, what are the top 10 movies of all time?
No, this is where they go to figure out the questions like, who was that guy in that movie? That's who that guy was. Yeah,
but while they're trying to remember who that guy was, they go, ooh, the top 250 films of all time? Sure, I'll take a look. Now that I know who Walton Goggins is. And you should all know who Walton Goggins is, by the way.
He's a great guy.
Better know Goggins.
So before we break the list down, I wanted to sort of go over like how it works. So all of the enlisted registered users from IMDb can cast votes and evaluations for any film. IMDb takes all the individual votes cast by members and utilizes them to figure out a single rating, which you can see on their website. So the rating shown for a film's page is a weighted response based on the responses recorded from members on a scale of 1 to 10. They state on the site that they utilize a similar technique for all the motion pictures with no inclination, so the evaluations are reasonable and fair for every movie and series. The final rating of any movie or series is the weighted average vote given by the members of IMDb. For example, one of the highest rated films on this list is The Godfather. More than 1.5 million IMDb users have given a weighted average vote of 9.2 out of 10, which is also the final rating, which you see on their website. So that's a fancy way of saying they have a heavily calculated way for people to vote down the Captain Marvel sequel when it comes out. So obviously there's lots of flaws and weird problems with sites like this, with lots of people going in and using it for their own agendas or bombing scores. So it is a dangerous way for, studios to probably get any kind of actual insight. But that said, I wanted to give this list a fair look and figure out, is there anything that actually belongs in a top 10 of all time?
Well, interestingly, Joe, before we go into that, is what you said is it's kind of a double-edged sword. I don't think that I think IMDb has done a fair job in trying to contain review bombing, though it does happen by the way they weight things, because they weight them. It's like if you only sign up to just review Captain Marvel 1 star, your account doesn't get weighted much into the final figure, though they don't really reveal how they do it. But they're trying to get people to review a lot of movies, so it's a double-edged sword. They're trying to prevent review bombing, but they're also trying to keep you on the site and like keep using it and reviewing and building up your score and your cred so that your reviews count.
That's a hell of a moral sword. Like, keep things on the side of right by remaining on our site for as long as you can.
Yeah.
The win-win, Joe.
But that does. I'm sure it still happens. But that does sort of filter out some of the people who just sign up to give Last Jedi a 1 and then delete their account or whatever.
Sure.
That being said, I feel like
2.2 at best.
I feel like if you're the review bomber type, there's probably 15 to 20 movies that you could easily target. I don't think that it's just like The Last Jedi hater is just The Last Jedi hater. I think there's probably a lot of stuff, which is maybe to me why there's not quite as many like genre stuff in the like top, call it 30, that maybe I was expecting. Like, I'm not going to say that, you know, it was like a DC versus Marvel thing, but I do find it interesting that there is no really like Avengers or anything in the top, I don't know, 15, 20.
I think Endgame was at one point and then it dropped out. I'm curious to see where it is now.
The interesting thing to me is because you can go in and break down ratings by demographic, which is actually super interesting to me. So you can actually see age groups and what they rated these movies. And the reason why I think that's interesting, because there is like, I mean, aside from like The Godfather, there is 12 Angry Men is in here, and some obvious older hits, but there is like a fair amount of recency bias. So there is definitely a story to be told of like, what is the age group that's actually rating these movies?
Well, let's hit people with the actual list before we talk about it too much. What is the top 10, Joe?
Here's the top 10, boys. Let me break this down for you. At number 1, it's 1994's The Shawshank Redemption. Greatest movie of all time.
A fine film. Greatest movie ever made?
Yeah.
We'll discuss.
We'll discuss. The Godfather, followed by The Godfather Part 2, which is an entire video in of itself. The Dark Knight, 12 Angry Men, Schindler's List, Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King, Pulp Fiction, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, The Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring. Those are, according to IMDb, the top 10 greatest movies.
How'd Fight Club get there?
Fight Club is number 11.
Just barely.
Just missed the cut.
Missed
All right, Tyler.
The back half, the top 11 through 20 are interesting to me too, so I have that in case we want to jump into them as well. But yeah, let's take a look at this list. It reminds me a little bit of Jack Black and High Fidelity, where he's like, a list of old favorites with a couple of new ones thrown in.
I have to say, just like, I'm looking at the list, but I'm also scrolling down, just kind of looking, ahead. For the most part, I gotta give the users more. Maybe I would just assume that it's just like, really, you're gonna put that as your top movie? Like, there's a lot of stuff on here that I'm like, yeah, that's actually, this is pretty well balanced. Like, this is a fairly well balanced film diet, and I'm a little surprised. Like, if you keep
I disagree, Billy. I actually don't mind. Wow. I mean, the top 10 is what it is. The top 10 reminds me of like people who never read a book after high school, so their favorite book is always like Catcher in the Rye, and you ask him for another one, like The Great Gatsby, and then you ask him for another one, and like Lord of the Flies. Like it looks like assigned reading to me, or like assigned watching. If you say you're a film fan, it's like, well, you got to watch The Godfather, and you got to watch 12 Angry Men and stuff like that, which is fine.
No, but I'm saying, like, keep going.
But no, when I keep going is when it's like, ooh, like Forrest Gump 12, and I like that movie. Hamilton 30.
I mean,
get ready with the bleep button. Fuck like, out of here! No,
like you get like
that is a filmed play. I'm sorry.
City Lights at 43, Grave of the Fireflies at 48. Like, there's some interesting stuff in here if you keep going.
But like Joe said, there's a huge recency bias. Like, there are it's dotted with classics, it's speckled with classics, but this is like so over indexed on the late 90s, early 2000s, or like even more recent than that.
It's definitely like a good list of what do you want to watch tonight? Like, what's a good pick for the gang coming over? We're all going to put on our mask and each sit in a folding chair that's 6 feet away from the other person in an outdoor space in my backyard. Like, what's something that everybody will probably want to watch that's also really good? And
this also seems predominantly American. Like, I'm just scrolling through. I guess there's a handful of international, but like, I just wonder, like, is IMDb? I wonder, like, what the geographic breakdown of these votes
I do agree with you there. It does feel like a very American list. Like, at 19, you have Seven Samurai, which Seven Samurai, beautiful classic, but come on, guys.
Again, if you watch one foreign film, it's Seven Samurai.
And then, even, the next entry I'm sort of seeing, although Parasite at number 29 actually kind of surprises me. Good on you list. 27, you have Spirited Away. And
wait, Joe, I'm sorry. Good on you list? I think Parasite's great. You think Parasite is one of the top 30 movies ever made?
I'm amazed it's here at all.
Okay.
I'm amazed it's present at all.
I mean, Joker should not be on this list, and that's where I will put...
Where's Joker at?
That is at number 58.
That's too high. That's way too high.
That shouldn't be on this list.
If it sniffed 250, I wouldn't be mad at it, but that's insane.
Yeah.
I don't know. You can't think of 250 movies better than Joker.
I love Joker. I do Joker stuff.
You do love... Yeah, legitimately, you do absolutely love that movie.
Wait, stop. Is this a bit, or do you legitimately...
This is not a bit.
No, it's not.
You were the one that came into my office like 4 months before the movie came in and gave me the script. You're like, this is going to be awful.
I
Read
know.
it right now. And I read it in like an hour. What happened?
It's incredible how, first of all, it did change from the page, and
Not
how
much.
performance and direction and tone can change something. I was just reading how yesterday a movie I watched over the weekend, My Blue Heaven, is based on the exact same story as Goodfellas.
Yeah, that's a great story.
The film cannot be more different. So just a story can be told many different ways depending on the storyteller. And look, I think Todd Phillips did it by accident, but I think it's a genius film.
Wow. I need like a full 20-minute fan.
Watch our Oscar video and watch me predict the goddamn future. Talking about how The Joker is the movie of our times. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to say I nailed it, but I think I nailed it on that one.
I love listening to you talk about The Joker because usually I'm real good at telling if you're on the level or it's a bit, and I'm still not entirely sure when you talk about Joker.
It's a good movie. Anyways, I don't want to turn this into top 250 reasons The Joker's great.
That's Monday's show.
That's Monday's show, yeah. Because
we're desperate for headlines. The interesting thing to me about genre here.
Oh, God, The Help is on here.
Oh, no. What number?
243.
Oh, no. The interesting thing about genre to me here is how obviously like Nolan heavy it is with Batman, it just sort of reeks to me a little bit of that, like, these are the good ones because they're for grown-ups. And again, like, I like Dark Knight quite a bit, but I don't like the idea of I don't know, it being elevated over other genre stuff because it's real. Because it's not real at all. So that's odd to me. And then
how is Heat way below The Dark Knight Rises?
That's fascinating to me. Yeah.
Yeah. Heat is all the way down in like the 140s, and Dark Knight Rises is in the 70s.
But you're saying about demographics, like this is a snapshot of what important movies are to people, 19 to 30 right now? Like men 19 to 30?
Yeah, that's a good
or younger, something like that. Like that's why everything is from starts in the 90s, and then you get the required viewing classic films, and everything else is like a film that we saw / I say they, but it's really us saw in the late 90s. Like, oh, Good Will Hunting, like that made me cry. That must be one of the best films ever made.
Let's go through this one by one. I'm just curious to see what you guys think. Number one film in the world of all time, The Shawshank Redemption.
I mean, it's an impossible film to me to dislike, which maybe is why it's number one. Like, there's nothing bad that I haven't seen in a while, but that I can remember about The Shawshank Redemption. So maybe it's just like the least controversial. Like everyone who sees it gives it a high rating. Like nothing's dragging it down, but it's just a film that's all around good. I don't know how that makes it the greatest film of all time, but look, it's a stupid endeavor anyways.
I mean, yes, absolutely. But it is sort of an interesting point where it's like, it's so good, but also not exceptional that it like works its way to the top. I don't know. I think there's something interesting about that where it's
much like Andy Dufresne, picking away behind that poster. It's clawed its way to the top without anyone noticing.
William, Shawshank Redemption, number one.
It's fine. I saw it. I saw it. Let's see. I was like a freshman in high school. That was the one and only time I watched it, and I thought it was fine at the time. I'm sure if I saw it today, I would either like it a lot more or a lot less, just because I'm a very different person than I was in 2000. It's solid. I think you're right. I think it's solid. I think it's the Elton John of movies, where it's like there's no like, wow. When you talk about the greats, Elton John is usually like maybe your 6th or 7th, but then when you look at the catalog, you're like, oh, these are all pretty solid. Like, that's Shawshank Redemption.
Yeah. Always listen to an Elton John song. Okay, let's talk about 2 and 3 together. Because, again, like I was sort of joking, like, this could be a video in itself. No one would watch it or click on it, so we have to do a mini video in the context of this video. But at number 2 and number 3, the eternal battle, yin and yang, The Godfather and Godfather Part 2, just circling each other.
Oof, yeah. I'm a Part 1 guy.
Same.
I like Part 2 a lot. I just think there's just something so just like it's so perfectly paced. It's perfectly structured. The clear arc of Michael in that first one. I don't know. I feel like that's the second one's great, but the first one's just like a notch above it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, iconic. I mean, if you want to flip them in your head, fine. I get it. Those for me are in the right place.
Yeah, it does almost make me want to have IMDb start making tag teams applicable for this ranking list, so that they could just be a team at number 2 or number 3 or whatever. Poor Godfather 3 though, right, guys? No respect.
It's not horrible. It's better than people remember. If you watch,
it's got enough weird the Catholics are up to something bad, and it's a genre that I'm super into.
There's one bad performance that people point to, and then you're like, okay, what else? And then they can't talk to it.
Yeah.
They're like, but Sophia Coppola. You're like, okay, great, but what else?
Okay, and yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Number 4 is a movie that we've never talked about on SJU before. The Dark Knight. I like this movie perfectly fine. I think we as a culture have now just overrated the hell out of it, unfortunately, to its detriment.
Yeah, if this is the 4th best movie ever made, then they may have only made 4 movies in this universe. Well,
the interesting thing to me here is, the shorthand joke that's sort of in my head is when you open this link, is that it's like going to be just covered in Nolan. Like you're kind of like, oh, the people that rank IMDb movies, it's going to be 1 through 10 all Nolan movies. This is the only one in the top 10. And
it's not even Nolan's best movie. Is what's weird.
That's what's interesting.
There's 3 of them in the top 25, though. I will say, like Inception.
Yeah, that's fair.
Inception is at 13 of all.
That's fair. But I just, as the best of Christopher Nolan is interesting to me that's the one that breaks through. I mean, I guess it's the Heath Ledger of it all, but
it's all the Joker avatars, man. They're all he's just got a very online and dedicated fan base, and that's what this represents. I think that nobody is saying that it's a bad movie. Certainly not. I think even if it's at the top or in the top 4, it probably belongs there of the best superhero movies ever made. But
yeah,
I've been making movies for a long time, you guys. Like watch something else. It's okay. There's other good ones.
I don't agree with its place on the list. That being said, I do think that Dark Knight has finally, it took a while, longer than a lot of other popular things, but it's finally reached the point where it's like the popular opinion has flipped on it, and I feel like it gets bashed a lot more than it needs to these days. I think people just need a break from it. I think a lot of people just injected into my veins for 2 years after it came out. Yeah. But I watched it again over the summer, and it had been at least 3 or 4 years since I had seen it. And I was like, you know what? This is pretty good. I remember why I like this so much. And I definitely think it's a movie where, if you catch it on TNT, because it's always on TNT, you kind of want to write it out every time that you catch it. But I am agreeing with you. Not top 4. Yeah. Probably not even top 10. But I do think it's a really good movie.
If you had to swap it out with another Nolan title, what do you think? If a Nolan title has to represent in the top 10 films of all time,
I think Inception. In fact, I think there was like a movie fights question that I argued. It was like, what movie will be taught in film schools in 20 years? And I said Inception.
Yeah, I would agree. Inception, if anything, belongs in the top 10.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Agreed, gentlemen. Number 5. This one's so weird. I'm assuming this one's because we all had to watch it in 8th grade in school. And so people know it and know that it's an old movie and they can drop it to like impress people. But 12 Angry Men.
I think Dan just clicked vote from a bunch of different computers, and that's how it got so high.
It's a great film, but yeah, I mean, God, there's so many great movies from that era that for that to be the one that pops, I don't quite understand, but I'm not mad at it. I mean, it's great. It's like it's literally like a play, but fantastically acted.
It's the Hamilton of its day.
It's the Hamilton of its
It's a film play.
Do they rap in that movie, Jeff?
For a jury to convict. Yeah, it's really good. You know, when you're pulling the best of classic film, it's kind of hard to rank them against each other.
Right.
So if that's the one representative you got to put in there, okay. Something like Singing in the Rain maybe is a better, more impressive thing to put in there. Or, God, if you want to go back, I'm just going further down the list, like The Great Dictator. They have better movies from before 1990 on this list. But you're
both on this list. They're just way further down.
Yeah, I'm not sure why that's the one that popped, but I think you're right, Joe. It's like you have to watch it in school.
Yeah, and so you remember it. That's why I'm also surprised that the original Clash of the Titans isn't in the top 10, because I had to watch that for to learn about Greek mythology.
I watched La Bamba a lot in Spanish class. I've seen La Bamba and Mask of Zorro so many times.
That's amazing. Yeah, we had to watch La Bamba a bunch, and then a short film called Me Gusta.
Well, our Spanish teacher was pregnant, and she was due like in the middle of the school year. So there was like 2 months where she's just like, Zorro, La Bamba, every day.
Yes, she did not care one bit. Number 6, Schindler's List, 1993. Again, a very good movie. I don't know if it's one of the top 10 of all time.
Oh, I do. I actually think if I were to make my own top 10 list, that's probably about the right spot I would put this in.
Okay, so that actually ends up on
that one tracks for me.
Right on.
Yeah, I actually made a list the other day of like there was some Twitter thing, and I shot myself in the foot because I forgot like 5 movies. Of course, you know, as soon as you push that, you're like, oh wait. But Schindler's List is definitely one that like I think it earned its spot.
Mm-hmm. Well, then we've got at number 7, The Lord of the Rings: The Return of the King, which okay. The Lord of the Rings rep in general, like throughout this list, is really interesting to me. I mean, I think those are probably the most prime example of recency bias. They're great movies, but and as much as I love them, I honestly don't know if they end up anywhere near my top 50. I don't know.
Yeah, I think you log in to vote for all 3 of them because they all ended up sort of clustered together at 7, 10, and 15. Weirdly, Two Towers is the lowest. That's my favorite one.
Yeah. Hey, look at us.
Yeah. God, I think it's a demographic thing. It's like if you're a teenage boy in 2003, like hell yeah, that's got to be your favorite movie. Mm-hmm. I think it speaks to a certain time and place and person, and that's what it's reflecting.
Yeah. Number 8, we have Pulp Fiction. I don't hate the idea of it being on a top 10. I don't know if it belongs on the top 10 of all time. I don't even know, I guess to mirror the Nolan conversation, I don't know if Pulp Fiction would be if there has to be a Tarantino rep in this spot, I don't know if Pulp Fiction would be my pick.
Pulp Fiction is in my top 10 for sure. But just to echo what Spencer just said, I saw it at the exact right time where it probably would have made I actually I was very lucky in a way. I saw Reservoir Dogs and Pulp Fiction on the same Saturday afternoon, just DVD, and it was like a day I'll never forget. Cause
that was a big Saturday.
Right? Like it's crazy, but yeah, Pulp Fiction is definitely top 10. Maybe it's not his best, probably not, but it's, right place, right time to get on my list.
Sure.
Yeah, I think this is a top 10 movie, probably a top 10 movie of all time. It's obviously subjective, but to me, if you have to put a Tarantino one on there, this is it. It changed the history of cinema. There's before and after Pulp Fiction, as far as the movies went. So I haven't rewatched it in a long time. I can think of a couple scenes that might not fly so much anymore, but man, the first time I watched it, it's mind melting. What it can do with action movies and with comedy and with just cinema in general it was truly groundbreaking at the time. So I think you have to take it in its context and give it its props.
Yeah. Well, let's put a pin also in the idea of context and sort of seeing something at the right place, because we had a question in chat that I think that those will relate to. Let me finish cranking through this top 10 and then we'll kind of jump into them. Number 9, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. My dad definitely puts this on his top 10, probably of all time.
Why do all dads like Westerns?
That's what they
is it coming for me
that
and
was
Spencer?
The marvel of its day.
Yeah, that was, yeah. No, yeah.
Because are we just going to watch the Thanksgiving James Bonds and then Westerns?
No, we're going to get into World War II movies. I think or like Master and Commander. I think we're just going to rewatch Master and Commander
over and over again. Yeah. I mean, Larry Starr would tell you, man, after a day of getting roughed up by the nuns at Catholic school, as he would put it, he'd go home and watch Tor and Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. That was that was the double feature. And by go home, I mean walk past the stickball game and then pay a nickel at I don't know how things used to work. It's a good movie. It's a great Western. I don't know if it's my favorite Western, or the one that I would rank in the top 10. But then 2 Middle-earth entries in the top 10. Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring, also in here.
All right.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that the Tolkien stuff is the big recency bias, where for the bulk of these people, that was the way you guys talked about Pulp Fiction, right place, right time. Those are their first big theatrical experiences, maybe.
I don't know. Those movies still hold up. I'm not gonna act like.
I mean, yeah,
of course they're great.
They're absolutely they're absolutely amazing. And I always throw this out there. I always throw out this hope, and then in the comments it seems like everyone's like, "Oh, so Lord of the Rings is trash," and it's like, no, these are all great films. You can either talk about art carefully or you can't. So let us talk about art without assuming.
Those are weird because it's it's also hard to separate the movies themselves, which I think are great, but just from the achievement, which is kind of why I think it got the Oscar for Return of the King, where it's just you guys you spent 10 years on the biggest gamble ever. Here's an Oscar.
Yeah.
But maybe that's part of it too. It's just up to that point, I can't think of any series of movies that were made so they're not even interlinked. It's just one movie cut up into 3, and it was just such an achievement. It all felt so fresh at the time that maybe that's part of the really high ranking on the list.
Well, let's sort of combine achievement, the idea of achievement, with sort of that right place, right time, and context of its time, like we were talking about with Pulp Fiction, and talk about this. So Nick Munch in chat asked, how would Spencer, Joe, and Billy go about generating their own lists? Which is,
I mean, you can't do.
Question, I think, but let's talk.
I think it's a losing game, because I think this one, or you just have to admit that it's subjective to a large part. But
100%.
The reason I have problems with this is that it gives the air of objectiveness and of because they use a metric and stuff like that. But if you scratch a little bit, it's this is just as subjective. It's just weighting the conceptions of an audience that's already self-selected to be on IMDb and to vote on movies, and that puts you in general bucket of people, so you get a list that's just as subjective as if I were to just tell you my top 10 favorite movies.
Yeah, no, agreed. Yeah, I don't know, because like you guys were sort of saying with right place, right time, and nostalgia, and that, like, my top 10 would be full of stuff that just stuck with me at the right time, and I can fill in the blanks past that. Like, I can, my reasoning and, like, movie fights closing argument for Big Trouble in Little China being in my top 10 has continued to evolve my entire life, and I'm sure now it involves plenty of arguments that John Carpenter never intended for his movie to be about, you know? But that stuck with me at the right place and the right time, and I've thought about it ever since, so it just snowballs. Let's see here. Don Storm asks, between The Shawshank Redemption...
I'll say, sorry, Joe, I've been thinking about it. If you went back to do... I think you would have to take a pool of film lovers, of diverse, like, people who know how to do surveys, of, like, a diverse enough group, so you're getting women's opinions, so you're getting older people's opinions, so you're getting different types of film fans' opinions, and then maybe make a composite list of that. Because I just think that the metrics back it up, is that IMDb rankers are self-selecting for men between 18 and 30.
Yeah.
So we'll broaden that out a little bit, then maybe you're getting somewhere closer to objectively good films, or at least films that they maybe haven't seen or wouldn't think of could make the list.
Yeah.
A lot of good polls will adjust to, like, the latest census, you know, of, like, an area, so that, like, it's matching the closest that we think our actual demographic breakdown of a country is. I know the recent poll that we used for another episode, like, that's what they did. So I agree. I think that would help a lot.
Yeah, because you'll notice there's a lot of things on here that probably won't skew to that demographic. You know, where are the great rom-coms? Like, where's when Harry met
Where's
Sally?
Step Brothers on this list?
Yeah, where's Step Brothers on this list? Come on. That's ridiculous.
Where's Heavyweights?
Or even some, you know, current, like, classics and Oscar winners. You know, where's Moonlight on this list? Stuff like that. So yeah, I definitely think the only way you actually truly make this top 10 list is with sort of a very carefully curated, like, jury.
Yeah, there's no Blazing Saddles. I'm just trying to think of, like, classic comedies.
That's
There's
interesting.
No Caddyshack.
I think Pulp Fiction is probably the closest thing we have to a comedy in the top 10. And that's just interesting to me, because I wonder if, like, the same folks that... I feel like this is a generalization, and probably not necessarily fair, but I feel like the same folks that make this list are the same ones who call out the Academy for only recognizing, Oscar bait and stuff like that. But this feels like a pretty Oscar baity list. You know, where is Blazing Saddles? It's one of the greatest comedies and satires of all time.
There's, like, no... I'm, like, trying to think of, like, no Blues Brothers, no Spaceballs, no Animal House. Nope.
Yeah, it's tricky. I mean, Back to the Future, that's kind of a comedy. That's in the top 40.
This is sort of a related question, and then we'll move on. The Asian Phil 88 says, if you could take one movie out of the top 10 and replace it with a comedy or a horror movie, which one would you take out, and what would you put in its place? I think Blazing Saddles I'll take out Return of the King and replace it with Blazing Saddles. Yeah.
I think I'd take out Fellowship and put Blazing Saddles in there. Yeah.
I'm going to take out Return of the King and put Heavyweights in there. Because Heavyweights is the greatest comedy
bless you, sir.
ever made.
God bless you. Or even like Trading Places. Comedy's even more
Heavyweights.
objective. Oh my God.
It's Heavyweights.
Yeah. Let's see here. Let's see if there's a good question to go out on here. This is a fun question to sort of chat about, and then we'll move on. At Don Storm asked, between The Shawshank Redemption, Forrest Gump, and Pulp Fiction, which one do you guys should have won Best Picture?
I mean, Pulp Fiction. Not to rehash what I said already, but Shawshank Redemption and Forrest Gump are fine, albeit traditional movies, and Pulp Fiction kind of smashed open people's brains with what was even possible in how to tell a story. So maybe I over-index for when you do something innovative versus something just like down the middle and really good. But I think Pulp Fiction by a mile above those
I agree.
two.
I think there was some innovation, to Forrest Gump's credit with the visual effects, and B, it was kind of we were talking about all this Batman stuff with Flashpoint yesterday. It was like an Americana Flashpoint movie. Almost, where it was like all the America stuff you love is coming back for this one Tom Hanks film. And props to them for knowing how to just play on nostalgia that way. But yeah, I think Pulp Fiction leaps and bounds. Billy?
No argument from me.
You're just like heavyweights, bitch.
Also a classic of, I believe it was probably 1995. Damn it. Wouldn't that have been great, though?
The best year in film. Yeah.
Dude, 95, I had Batman Forever, Apollo 13, and Heavyweights.
That was a good year.
I gotta get on IMDb and give all these 10s.
What am I doing here?
Get to work, man. Start doing the work that matters. Get out there. Hey, thank you guys for watching, liking, subscribing, all that good stuff. We have another Fandom 5 next Friday. This one's going to be Dragon Ball. So if you know your Vegetas from your Gokus, come hang out, watch the show, try to win some money. It's going to be a really fun time. So come check that out. Link in the description to get more info and to RSVP for a spot at the show. That said, hey boys, we got another Spidey bad guy getting his movie. Kraven the Hunter is coming out. Sony Pictures has sort of teased that early in the year. According to Deadline, J.C. Chander, who did Triple Frontier, is in talks to direct Kraven the Hunter. While Sony had no comment, they're obviously continuing to build their Spider-Man slate, what with the Venoms and the Morbius. There's J.C. Clarkson is attached to a Madam Web film still, which I'm continuously shocked by. And Mark Guggenheim is writing a Jackpot movie. So they're high and low.
What happened to the Aunt May? What happened to the Aunt May project?
Aunt May, I think, seems dead. No ants in the spider.
Oh.
All spiders, no ants. In this situation, I do wish they'd still make an Aunt May movie. Triple Frontier. Spencer, you liked Triple Frontier pretty good, right?
Yeah, man, I like that movie. Look, this has dark universe potential written all over it, this Sony Spider-Verse. Granted, they've got a mega hit in Venom, and they could keep doing Venoms as long as Tom Hardy's willing to get sweaty and eat gross food and stuff like that, which is great.
I feel like he is.
I hope he is. But what's the first one coming out after Venom? Like, is it going to be Morbius? It's probably Morbius, right?
Morbius.
I feel like, if Morbius flops, all these projects are just going to...
The dominoes, yeah.
They're just going to vanish in the wind, like a turd in the wind. Because, I don't know, man. What
if they don't connect out? Like, what if they're not dark universing hard, and it's just like, they threw out a Morbius movie, and it was a weird, cheesy, The Fly type thing, and now we're moving on.
I guess, but aren't they banking on your residual knowledge of Spider-Man to get people in the door to be like, okay, maybe this person's gonna fight Spider-Man someday. I mean, otherwise, why just call it guy with a furry vest? Like, don't bother with the IP.
The bus that couldn't slow down. The furry vested man that had to hunt. You're absolutely right. That's why they're stuffing the Flash with Batman, because they're not confident in the fact that you're just going to go see a movie starring the Flash.
Yeah.
Billy,
yeah.
Is this Spider Bad universe going to work?
I don't know, man. Look, I have to say, I know that there are a lot of doofy villains in Spider-Man, but Kraven is just the one that I never got. I get it. Kraven's Last Hunt is everyone wants to see that, and more power to you. He looks like a crazy person that went and raided a Goodwill and just threw on. It makes no sense. It makes no sense. Kraven as a character just doesn't make sense to me. in some ways it stretches my ability to believe in it even more than like a really big guy in a rhino costume. I will buy Rhino before I buy the idea of Kraven. And if you take Spider-Man out of that, and now he really is just like a crazy guy in a weird vest. I don't know. Now I'm talking myself into it. That actually sounds better. Take Spider-Man out of it. If Spider-Man doesn't exist, he's just like this crazy hunter guy that just hunts people, but he like...
So you're saying take that old Aronofsky Batman pitch where he's just a hobo and just apply it to Kraven the Hunter?
Oh, yeah. Hobo Hunter, I will watch that. But Kraven, I don't know. Hunting Spider-Man's dumb. Hunting people because you're crazy is awesome, though. I'll take that one.
I kind of love that you just pitched a big budget version of Hobo with a shotgun.
Yeah. Actually, that's closer.
And yeah, I think that the reason they're banking on a Kraven the Hunter working is because people love Kraven's Last Hunt. But the problem is you've got to do like his first, second, maybe third hunt for that to matter. Otherwise, you're just going to do a Dark Phoenix hop, where you're just like, oh, that's the story people like, but you're not building up to it in any meaningful way, which is, I think, a horrible mistake.
I just think making a whole universe out of supporting characters when, like, you're not fooling me. Like, you're not fooling anybody. We all want to see Spider-Man. Like, this is kind of the issue that the TV shows of DC sometimes have, where it's just like, if you're not going to do Batman, if you can't do Batman on TV, like, stop dicking around and giving me every ancillary character but Batman, like the Alfred show.
Yeah, like the Alfred show, that's what I was going to say.
No, or like Gotham, where it was just like tiptoeing around Batman. Like, if you can't do Batman, just don't do it. That's how I feel about these Spider-Man movies. Like, if you can't put Spider-Man in it, just stop. Just don't do it.
Sure.
But this is just the Sony and really any corporate art making decision process is like, what made us the most money? Oh, all the Spider-Man movies. What do we own? The rights to Spider-Man. Like, we gotta. Like, they have no choice. Our hands are tied. Our shareholders would run us out of the boardroom if we didn't try to milk Spider-Man. Can you milk a spider? If we didn't milk this spider for all it was worth.
You can milk anything with nipples, Spencer.
Yeah. Devil Kazuya 27 says an easy way to tie Kraven in is to just have Kraven hunting for Morbius. I mean, I guess, or depending on if these work, you can start interlacing them with each other.
Yeah, he could hunt Venom. Just make it a Venom verse. Screw it.
Yeah, I mean,
kill off Spider-Man in your universe.
I mean, that's probably a terrible idea. but
well,
also,
now that there's
Spider-Man died on the way to his
just
home planet.
That universe doesn't have a Spider-Man. There's already one without the Chris Pine Spider-Man. Just
does Sony own Japanese Spider-Man? I mean, they're a Japanese company.
Spider-Man?
So yeah, Spider-Man.
Spider-Man. I think he's in the next Spider-Verse.
Well, good.
But I also might have just read that on one of like some garbage thing that was like Steven Spielberg making 12 Star Wars movies. Also,
God, I would watch Tom Hardy fight Leo Pardon any day, twice on Sunday.
That would be maybe the only way to recover this year and make it good is if they announced not even Venom, just Tom Hardy v. Leo Pardon. I would 100% watch that movie. Langley agrees with you guys in chat. Hi, Langley. None of these characters matter to me without Spider-Man, and throwing him into a film after the fact is not it.
Agreed.
Yeah.
I always liked you, Langley.
Yep.
Do you think this is kind of like, guys, do you think this is like Joker, where it's like, yeah, Joker, it's another DC movie, but really they just wanted to make it like a Scorsese kind of crime film, and so they made it Joker? Like, do you think this is a chance for, like, you know, if Morbius was just a cool new vampire movie, would we be thinking of it, like, scoffing at it the same way? I mean, I think the answer is yes. I just want to know what you guys would think.
It's Kraven. You can't compare Kraven and Joker. Kraven is lame. At least Joker has, like, this implied kind of scary history that maybe you bring something to it. Like, Kraven, what do you bring besides, like, leopard printed stretchy pants? Like, you're bringing nothing to this. I disagree on that.
Said it, man.
I guess if they become like actual genre films, once we actually really start to see what these films are, where it's like, oh, okay, like, it's not just a Joker movie, it's this type of Joker movie. Like, I guess that's just, you know,
that'd be cool. That just hasn't really been Sony's MO. Like, Venom, if anything, was a movie from 1998. Which I really like, an early comic book movie, which I guess we've a long enough time has passed for us to be nostalgic for.
Yeah, 1998 is a genre. I mean, if you're gonna do Ghost in the Darkness with Kraven the Hunter, I'm listening. And
All right.
also, that's probably in my IMDb top 10. The Grave and the Hunter, Ghost in the Darkness, not Ghost in the Darkness. Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question, though. I think the challenge is then you don't have an IP strong enough to make those interesting. Like,
Yeah,
we're
I mean,
doing
if there was
Force
I'm trying to think if there was an original Jared Leto vampire movie.
What would you do? Yeah,
No.
Take the actor name
In
out.
year of our Lord 2020, like a new Jared Leto vampire movie's out. My reaction is like, we'll see how it looks.
Yeah.
I don't think we would be talking about it if it wasn't called Morbius.
Yeah, that's fair too. I think we've done talked these spiders to death, boys. Let's do a little AMA. Adam Holbert asks, what sequel do you think failed by listening too much to fan complaints? My answer is Godzilla 2. More bland action and bland humans is not an improvement. So, sequels that you guys think failed for listening to fans too much. I feel like this is bait to make me yell about Rise of Skywalker, and then Billy and I will get in a fight. And
Oh yeah, that's the first one that popped into my head.
yeah.
Sorry, my audio cut out for a sec. Repeat the question real fast.
Oh, it's what sequel failed because it listened to its fan base too much and overcorrected? And I said, I feel like this is bait to get us in a Skywalker fight with you.
I actually would say, even though I'm the only person on the planet that likes this movie a lot, I would say Justice League probably was a massive overcorrection to maybe not even the fans, maybe it was the critics, that it was like Batman v Superman. They took the note, and they really took the note probably too far. I'm not going to comment on Rise of Skywalker. You guys can go at it.
No, we're a happy family here. We have no interest in doing that with you. It's a bad movie. Spencer? What's a sequel you're thinking of?
Well, it was Rise of Skywalker. Like, honestly, I think that was a huge overcorrection. And Godzilla 2 is a good one. I do think that people are like, more action, but there's a difference between more action and like, so much action, it just dulls your brain. Although I did think Godzilla 2, I have mixed feelings about that because, like, I think we said in the Australia, if that were a coffee table art book, it'd be the best coffee table art book ever made. Like, you pull any individual fight or any individual scene out of that movie, and it's incredible. But all strung together, it's just it's like you get giant monster fatigue by the end of it.
They're also tough because, like, I feel like in a way, Godzilla was the first, like, the original Godzilla franchise is like almost like the YouTube clip generations, like the earliest version of that, where like there are newer movies where people are like, oh, I love that movie because I go on YouTube and I watch like my favorite clips of it. And like people only watch like the Godzilla fights from the old Tojo stuff. But like that's what a Godzilla movie is you spend 45 minutes with some engineer who's trying to warn the Emperor that Godzilla's coming. And the Emperor's like, you're a moron. And then Godzilla comes, smashes things for a minute, and some tanks shoot at him, and then there's lightning, and then there's credits. Like, that's kind of the pace of a Godzilla movie. I wonder if it's gotten its... If the obstacle for the Godzilla franchise is that people just remember the neat Godzilla part and not the rest from the originals. Maybe.
I guess in looking back at the question, like, what do you think failed by listening too much to fan complaints? It's a pretty small group of movies, I think, that did that, but there's a much bigger group of movies where it's like they never intended to make a sequel and they never should have, but fans clamored for one and it turned out to not be that good.
Pacific Rim would be...
Pacific Rims. I was thinking like Frozen 2.
Zoolander 2.
Anchorman 2. Yeah. I will even say Incredibles 2 I don't think was necessary or any better than the first one.
I like that one.
I promise you A Quiet Place 2 is going to be dumb. I'm sorry, but there's no reason to go do another Quiet Place.
But there's a whole world, you see, Spencer.
Yeah.
World.
To me, it's mostly like fans clamor for something that they never planned on making any more of. And usually that doesn't work out too well.
D.A. Baracus asks, what would your Oscar picks for Best Picture be if voting was today? Overall Best Picture, Director, Actor, Actress, Supporting Actor, Actress, sort of whatever sort of pops into your head. You don't have to go category by category.
Just for 2020 movies?
Yeah, just for like...
Shit, I've only seen like 3 of them. I saw like Bad Boys, Palm Springs, and I'm probably going to watch The One and Only Ivan later. Those are like my 3 2020 movies.
Was Portrait of a Lady on Fire this year? Was that?
No, that was last
is that
year.
eligible?
Last year.
Okay, so that's out.
First Cow's probably good.
First Cow, I would put in First Cow. It would never make it in a year with normal.
With that
normal movie release.
I'm looking
schedule.
I just need a list. I'm looking
Money
right
Plane.
Kelsey Grammer, Best Supporting Actor for Money Plane.
Mostly Money Plane. That Hugh Jackman movie, was that this year? The Bad Education? That was fantastic.
Oh, I actually ended up seeing that.
That's great.
Actually, you know what I watched and I liked more than I thought I would? King of Staten Island. I thought that was actually pretty good, all things considered.
I'm not gonna lie, I skipped it because of the Pete Davidson of it all. But I will.
I wasn't a fan.
Are we not supposed to watch Pete Davidson stuff? I don't know.
I just don't.
No, Joe just really hates him. I don't mind him, but I did
like
not
him.
love
I don't
that
know.
movie.
Emma?
We liked Emma.
Yeah, we really like that. That'd be a good
Didn't
best
see it.
picture for me. Doolittle?
I still haven't watched An American Pickle yet. It's on my list. I just haven't had a chance to watch it.
It's nice.
Is it pleasant?
Nice film. Yeah.
Had some
Invisible
structure.
Man, that was pretty good.
Seth Rogen for Best Actor and Best Supporting Actor.
Yeah.
That's where we need to be pushing.
Yeah, I mean, I'll support that.
I don't know.
I
I,
really
don't think
liked,
anything has been
Did you guys see The Vast of Night? Again, a movie that would never make an Academy nomination in normal times.
Bass of Night was cool. That definitely deserves a Best Picture nom in our weird 2020.
Yeah.
You heard her? She's ridiculous.
Are they just skipping the Oscars this year?
No, it's if you were planning. Sorry, there's a lot going on right here. If you were planning on a theatrical release but had to go straight to streaming, you still qualify. And I think they expanded the window. But yeah, there will be an Oscars, and it will probably not include Betty Gilpin for The Hunt, which is criminal.
Kristen Melody from Palm Springs, the second lead in Palm Springs. I also would. Pitch
Yes.
this.
Oh, how did I forget about Palm Springs?
I said Palm Springs.
He did.
Oh, did you say Palm
Oh,
Springs?
sorry.
Yeah.
I meant for acting. I think she was a really good kind of feature debut for her.
Yeah.
Palm
no.
Springs is probably like the best movie I've seen this year. Granted, I didn't see The Five Bloods. I heard that was like amazing. I just haven't seen it yet.
Five Bloods was pretty good. I definitely think it would make a nomination. Let's close out. Oh, this is a fun one. Let's close out with this. Michael Parker asks, are there any directors who have never made a genre film that you would like to see make one?
Let's see. I mean, David Lynch made Dune, so I don't think that he's off.
Yep.
Um,
My cat is actively pushing my screen over.
I don't think Linklater's ever made anything genre-y. Did he do Waking Life?
Yes, but I would straight up watch a Linklater slasher film. That'd be so
slasher film, or just like he just has so much like patience and love of characters and like letting something develop that I think that he would give him like a 90s era superhero and I think he'd do great.
Yeah, no, I'd be absolutely into that. Billy?
Give him an X-Men movie. That'd be fantastic.
The Before Sunset of X-Men movies, I'd watch
Yeah,
that.
like Dazed and Confused at the Xavier's School for Wizardry or whatever.
Whatever it is.
I'm gonna cheat and I'm gonna flip it. Before I die, I just want to see Christopher Nolan attempt to make a comedy. I want to see what that looks like. Like not just like a Christopher Nolan comedy, like a straight up studio comedy. Like give him one of the like Apatow type of comedies.
If I could just wizard it and make anything happen, I would do some time travel shenanigans, and he would direct a Monty Python at their peak movie. Christopher Nolan directing Python.
Very precise comedy.
Just a weird mix of British tones and tastes.
I want him to have
he's
to
got-
do like
There's funny
Pineapple
moments
Express
in,
too.
maybe except for Insomnia. There's funny moments in all of his films, I think. I think there's at least like clever bon mots in everything he's done.
He just seems like such a self-serious person, and every review that I read this morning of Tenet used the word humorless, which just adds to the like, I want to see him be forced to make like Knocked Up 2 or something that's like in that vein, where it's just like, you have to do this new direct-to-video American Pie movie by Christopher Nolan.
What does it look like when, because you know a lot of artists, like after they've had families and stuff, kind of go, you know what, I'm going to make something that my kids can watch. What's that movie look like for Christopher Nolan? When he's like, I want something that like my 10-year-old can love.
He would make like a fantastic Mr. Fox or something that's still like artsy fartsy, but kids can watch it.
Yeah, I'd love to watch a Chris Nolan children's movie. That'd be amazing.
That would be very, very cool. Hey, I think we did it, you guys. That's our show.
All right.
You boys feel good?
Let's pack it in for the week.
Okay. Yeah. Billy, go enjoy the Thunderdome.
I'm excited. I just got my virtual ticket for the virtual show while we were doing this.
Enjoy the Thunderdome. You guys have a good weekend. Stay safe. Take care out there. And we'll see you Monday. Bye.
Bye-bye.